I like to joke that no client ever came to me and said, Philippa, the thing I want to pay you for is 50 pages of analytics.
Yeah.
Right. What they do want to know is, tell me what I need to know to run my business better. And the thing I love about analytics is that that's exactly what it can be if you use it intelligently. And in fact, if you don't use it and you do have a website and you are putting money and resources and time and whatever into the website, and the website plays a role in your business, then if you're not looking at analytics, you're basically shooting in the dark with whatever you're doing because you have no idea what's actually happening.
Hello and welcome to Pathways. I am your host, Amber Stitt. And today we welcome Philippa Gamse to the show today. Welcome, Philippa.
Thank you, Amber.
Great to have you here. And I love this topic. And I love that you have over 20 years of experience because things are changing. And we feel like we have to keep up. And I know you're going to help us bring some clarity to what to focus on and maybe what isn't as important to help us using our time the best that we can when we're in business. And so can you share with the audience a little bit about how you have been helping business owners over 20 years now?
Well, yes, I guess my passion is something that a lot of people aren't passionate about. And why you can't really blame them, right? I mean, nobody really wants, well, very few of us want to look at a load of charts and graphs and things. I like to joke that no client ever came to me and said, Philippa, the thing I want to pay you for is 50 pages of analytics.
Yeah.
Right. What they do want to know is, tell me what I need to know to run my business better. And the thing I love about analytics is that that's exactly what it can be if you use it intelligently. And in fact, if you don't use it and you do have a website and you are putting money and resources and time and whatever into the website, and the website plays a role in your business, then if you're not looking at analytics, you're basically shooting in the dark with whatever you're doing because you have no idea what's actually happening. People come to me at parties, and they say, oh, this is what you do, right? Can you just take a quick look at my website and tell me what you think? And I say, yeah, and it won't do you any good at all, right? Because anybody can look at the website. I mean, yeah, you can say this website's pretty, it's ugly, whatever.
Yeah.
But without the inside numbers, you actually don't know how real visitors are interacting and what they think, what they're doing on it. So it's really, I think, a crucial part of anybody who has a digital presence.
I'm going to make a really weird analogy. I told you that I have some medical professional clients. It's almost like the blood work. Then the office visit, you're reviewing the blood work and saying, all right, how healthy are we? Is that a fair way to associate this? That you can't just say, there's something here. Am I okay? I have this ache and pain. Well, we got to look at your blood work first. And that's really what looking at the data behind the scenes is so important. Right. So there's more to the story, right? I almost feel like it's very scientific. It's looking at the science of the information. So I was thinking about what we could talk about today. And it's almost like I have these two silos. We have the people that have these beautiful or ugly, like you said, just depends. Websites.
Which is in the eye of the beholder anyway.
Right. What's your client type? What's your niche? It's set up and there's roads to this beautiful place and there's no traffic. When it's that desolate, what's like the key core? Just what do we need to do from just like the ground up? Are there any like tips that are just for the starter, the startup, grassroots here?
Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't matter how big you are or how small you are or whether you're a startup or not. If you're not used to looking at analytics, the first time you open it up, it's just overwhelming. It's just ridiculous. The previous version of Google Analytics had at least 140 default reports, 140. I don't know how many the current version has Google Analytics 4. And anyway, it's pretty horrible to look at. And how can anybody expect to find a way into that? So the big mistake that I see all the time is that people jump into digital marketing because they want to do something, right? So, we need to do social media postings or we need to do an email or whatever. But what they don't have is a thought out strategy where you stop before you do anything. You stop and you say, okay, what's our business about? What are we trying to do with this website or whatever it is? What are the calls to action and where do those calls to action happen? What do we want people to do? Yeah. And it's an amazing exercise to go to maybe every page of your site, but at least every section and say, what are people supposed to do when they're here? Because so many people don't. In my experience, very consistently, people don't do what you expect them to do if you leave them alone, right? Like you have to tell people, not really.
A little more direct.
You have to tell people,
we have to move forward here.
Here's
We're not
where
just
you need to go
scrolling through
next,
a feed.
right?
That's what Instagram is for.
Yeah. Right. And so in order to get anything useful out of the analytics, it's really important to know what you're trying to achieve and what's important in the moment, because what you're going to do with that information is say, okay, either this is working or it's not working, right? We have a call to action on this page, which could be buy stuff, sign up for the newsletter, right? Whatever. And people aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to do something about that because it's important, right? So you can't just look at all the analytics and decide you're going to do everything all the time, because that's impossible and you can't focus. If you change something and you try to test it, if you've changed, 50 different things at once, you really don't know what had the effect. So you need to prioritize. Like, okay, here's a page with a really important call to action and it's not happening. So let's look at that page. Once you start saying, I know what I need to do, I know what I'm trying to do, I know where it's supposed to happen, then you can start asking actually useful questions from the analytics.
And the analytics, I feel like things have changed so much in the last decade where it seems if people have so many followers and this like the vanity metrics, I know you can speak to that.
Right.
It's really about what is converting and what's driving the revenue. So you can be as popular as you want, but if it's the wrong people hanging out, there's no money trading hands, right? So can we talk about that a little bit? Because I think we could get that FOMO feeling, but the data is the data, right?
Yeah. So you said vanity metric. Let's just explain that for folks.
Yeah.
So basically a vanity metric is a number that makes you feel good, but it really probably doesn't mean anything without more context. So for example, your SEO agency sends you a dashboard that says, look, we've got you 20% more visitors this week from SEO. But that in and of itself is not good, because are they the right visitors, right? Are they the sorts of visitors that are your ideal customer or your ideal visitor? Because if not, doesn't matter how many more of them you get, it's not going to move your business forward. So vanity metrics, it is very, very tempting to look at a dashboard and to look at the vanity metrics, because then you can say, oh, look, this is good, and put the whole thing away and do something more interesting. But that's not really, as I say, it's not really moving you forward. You're talking about change. Right now we're going through a huge period of change because of all the privacy concerns that are around.
Right.
And as of next month, for any website which has visitors or is doing any sort of business in Europe, and that means even if you're a US-based business, but let's say you sell, I don't know, products that people can buy, like information products, for example, or you have people signing up to your newsletter from Europe, which is really quite often happens. For example, unless you're running in what's called consent mode, where you ask people if it's okay to track them, Google isn't going to allow you to really be able to maximize your advantage if you're doing, for example, Google advertising.
Okay.
So this whole privacy thing is a very interesting area, actually. I think I'm going off on a slight tangent here, but I think
I like it. My brain's thinking, so this is different than cookies for those of you that say, okay, you're on my website.
Yeah, no, this is cookies. This is where the banner comes up and says, do you agree to accept cookies, right? And if you say no, there's a lot of things that can't happen. But the problem is that to some extent, there's also, cookies are helpful. They remember what's in your shopping cart. If you, put things in your shopping cart or in your wish list, and then you go away and come back, they remember if you're logged into a site and you want to kept logged in, right? That's a cookie. So cookies help your experience. They're not all bad, and they're not all designed to spy on you and do bad things. And to some extent, there's a question of like, have we gone privacy crazy? I mean, obviously, I know you've got audience of health professionals and so on. I mean, obviously, people's health information, their financial information, etc., should be absolutely secure and private, no question. For example, in Google Analytics, you're not allowed to store personally identifiable information anyway.
Okay.
So the data is all essentially anonymous, and the concern is that if you put it together too finely, too granular a level, it would be possible to identify an individual, right? There's only one individual in this zip code who just bought a Ferrari. I don't know, that kind of thing, right?
My advice is no Ferraris unless you have enough passive income. No.
Right. Right. But how many bad people are actually seriously going to download a data set and try and, I don't know. And I'm probably being naive, so I should shut up right now.
Because Europe is kind of that starter. They set the tone for the rules, right? And that's where it came. How long ago was it where they changed the rules for just subscribing an email list? I mean, it wasn't too long ago.
Actually, it's been getting quite stringent for years now.
Yeah.
And actually also California now has quite a strong privacy law. So we're starting to get in there too.
That's perfect, because you have more clients that need your help, right?
Yeah. But what it also means is that people have to understand that there is absolutely a proportion of people who say, no, you can't track me. And that means that you have to understand that when you're looking at your analytics, you are not looking at every single visitor. You're just not, right? You're not looking at like auditable numbers. What you're looking at, you're looking for trends and patterns in who you do get. People they tear their hair out over trying to marry up two tools. So you might be getting analytics from a social media site, or you're trying to marry everything that's happened with your e-commerce backend. It's not going to happen. I mean, it shouldn't be like massively out, but trying to reconcile every single thing is absolutely a waste of time.
Okay, so let's go back to those clients that have the traffic, maybe a little vain. They have those metrics. What should they really be honing in on that data? Because you said we're not going to go through everything, but there are patterns that you probably can look from a macro and then dive in. Is that your sweet spot with the clients, is really helping master the patterns?
So what happens once we know that data's good, and I do always start with the audit of how the data is being collected and all of that good stuff, which, isn't the exciting bit, but has to be done.
Somebody has to do it.
Yeah. But the point then is, what do we do with this information? I mean, there's always got to be a so what, otherwise it's not worth collecting. So there's two things. There's an obvious problem. People aren't fulfilling the outcomes that you want. And two is, what can we tell in order to get that running better? So for example, everybody focuses on purchases, but for example, right, we're on a podcast here. I see, a lot of podcast site, where you've got a load of episodes, has got fantastic, amazing content on it. I mean, I'm sure pretty much every guest you have has amazing things to say, right? But as you build that web page and you're adding new episodes, any given episode is going to get pushed further and further down the page, right? And to the point where it's probably not going to get much attention, which is a shame because it's got great stuff. So what do you do about that? One of the things you can do with analytics is to see how far down a long page people scroll, which is, for content providers, that's an amazing thing to know. Or even not content providers, but just people who have long pages. Is there really important stuff going on further down the page that nobody sees? Without measuring how far down they scroll, you wouldn't know that.
The first 10 to 20 people are still important too, but you're saying it might go long and then you stop, and the data, it's not that these are bad, it's just they never got down to actually check them out. So how do you know? Yeah.
So what you can find out is what proportion of your visitors on this page, for example, see 25%, 50%, 70%, etc., right? How far do they go? And then you want to tailor your content to make sure that people see the most important stuff. Mm-hmm. Or break the content up, right? Or do something. But there's a clue. People aren't seeing all of the content that they should. So there's looking for known problems. There's looking for maybe less known issues that you're starting to dig into. And then one of my favorite pieces is looking for opportunities. So here's where it gets really fun.
I mean, it can be fun. That's the point of this, right? We should be working and doing what we love, making money and having some fun.
Well, when I say fun, what I mean is, for example, so if you have a lot of content on your site, you're going to have a search engine. You should have a search engine on your own site, right? That helps people find all of the different content. If you're an e-commerce site, that search engine is going to help people find the different items that you sell.
Oh, you're saying like just that search bar, like I need pants,
exactly.
White pants, search.
Yeah. So it's the search bar that's on your site. So it's not a Google search. It's your own search engine, or whoever makes it, but it's the search that's on your site. And you can track what people look for in that search. Now, what that means is it's what people expect to find on your site. And it's fantastic market research.
Yeah.
Because one, it tells you how they talk about your products and services. And okay, so we're going back to medical people, right? There are lots of industries, and obviously healthcare is one of them, where there's a lot of jargon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of terminology that's like people very familiar with the industry know that terminology, and the potential customer may not.
Yeah.
I can tell you a funny story. Years ago, I don't do this anymore, so I do not do SEO. Do not ask me to do your SEO, but I know enough to be dangerous.
Right.
And years ago, I was hired by an association of plastic surgeons to do some SEO. And they had a member database. So there was a member benefit that people could come to the website, look up the member database for a surgeon near them. And okay, they wanted me to get them to be number one in Google for the search term rhinoplasty.
Okay.
And I said, I can do that. That probably is quite easy at this point because there's not many people competing for that search term because your customers, the consumer, isn't looking for a rhinoplasty, are they? They're looking for a nose job.
Okay. Well, you can't spell rhinoplasty, right? So they're...
Yeah, who knows? I mean, if you think in your head, you don't think rhinoplasty.
Yeah.
And they were very upset with me because they said, excuse us, we're medical professionals. We don't talk about nose jobs. We talk about proper, and I said, fine. But if you want to be found, you've got to speak the language that your visitors are speaking.
So if you do breast augmentation, you might need to put a different phrase in your search box.
Right. Or tummy tuck, whatever that's called in medical, I don't know. But it is a serious point that people in that search engine on your site, people are putting in the words that they use to describe what they're looking for. And that can be really, really helpful. It can give you ideas for new products or services, because if they're looking for things that you could provide that are within your area of expertise, but you're not currently providing, right there is market research about what our consumers would buy from us if we had it. And I've helped clients develop new products and services based on that kind of data.
Yeah, that's really neat, because if they're entering in a word and it's just something you don't do, you either need to decide, is that something we need to add a solution or keywords or something to then answer that and hopefully convert that to something or a partnership of some sort.
Right. And obviously, you need enough data to show that but I mean, you might get some ideas and then you might go out and do some focus groups or other sorts of research, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the idea starts.
I love that. The clients that you had, did they get with the program? Did they take the advice? Or are they just too academically proud to change the narrative?
The sort of client that I really enjoy working with is one that wants to have an intelligent conversation about what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And no, they don't always do what we come up with, because there's actually a really good reason why they shouldn't. But what I enjoy is having the conversation that says, do we think this is a realistic opportunity? Obviously, sometimes if there's literally a problem with the way the website's working, then obviously we're going to fix that. People say, before they hire me, they'll say have you worked in my industry before? And I'll say, I honestly don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Because
you need a third party regardless.
Well, I mean, I'm the expert in my piece, but you're the expert in your business and your industry. And I'm never going to know enough about it.
Yeah.
And so we need to work together. I mean, I don't expect to go away and, work for 6 months and never talk to a client, right?
Yeah.
I want to know, here's what I'm seeing. What do you think? Does this work with your strategies? Does this work with your goals? Right?
They have the avatar, the client type, however they would say it, but then you can come in with the strategies, given all the experience. There's marrying that together. But I think having that third party, especially in insurance, sometimes there's jargon. My husband would say, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, everyone knows. No, they don't. And everyone feels like that in their own industry. And I know you talk about, I don't use the jargon. I want my clients to understand. And same for teams. I have to make some of the fundamentals so simple just because it's not your wheelhouse. And I know that you can bring that all together, but having that expertise and helping, I assume the clients though do need to be open-minded because things are changing.
And sometimes, there are politics. And the wonderful thing about data is that it doesn't lie. I mean, okay, I suppose you can prove anything with statistics, but I have been asked to make a case to higher management to make a change that they are not yet convinced about, coming in, looking at the analytics, saying, look, we can clearly see that we're losing out here. Here's the proof. Now, will you reconsider? I mean, that does happen, but that's another really helpful use of the data.
I like that because as business owners, we're looking to scale, delegate, and really build out where our talents lie. And I'm big about that. So let's close up today talking about how you work with helping find those gems and really becoming efficient in the business, because I think people might meet you and think, okay, digital marketing. Yes, let's do that. But you just brought up a really good point. It could save you money and or build other opportunities.
Yeah, I think I say in my own promotional blurb that there are many, many websites that I've reviewed that have opportunities either to save money or to add additional products, services, to reach new target markets. That's another one. I think I said to you when we were chatting before we recorded, I have on my website a free ebook. So my goal is really to convince business people that analytics can be extremely useful. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff online about analytics. And I mean, I work with Google Analytics 4, but obviously there are other tools, but it's very technical. A lot of it isn't really in business terms. It's kind of how to use the interface and stuff like that, which they don't really care about. And there's no reason why they should, because people like me can do that. So my ebook is it's called 5 Hidden Gems, but it's 5 stories from my own experience where I've worked with clients and we have come up with something significant from the analytics that they wouldn't have otherwise known, where we've made a transformational change to the business or to the website. I tell you very briefly where in the analytics we found what we found, but it's not like a how-to guide with the interface and all those charts and graphs. It's the stories of here was the problem and here's what we did about it from some different industries, B2B, B2C. And my goal is that people would read this in their business stories in English and that they might say, oh, I wonder if this kind of scenario could be happening to me. So it's absolutely free and you're welcome to come to my website and pick it up. I know you'll put a link to it in the show notes, right?
We definitely will. And I'm going to be grabbing that. I want to be learning more. So I'm excited to hear about these stories. Just think open-minded. There's always opportunities and we have to keep up with the times. But again, I don't say stay in your lane because I think there's pathways to different things. Know your niche and know where your talents lie. But again, hiring the experts on the team, and you're part of that alliance of like, we need our tax advisors, our attorneys, and then we have our marketing experts. But the digital marketing, that's not your expertise. You need to be pulling somebody in because I'm thinking, and you validate this if I'm accurate, I think before you're spending money on ads and strategies through different platforms, you start with the analytics. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And certainly once you start running ads, you need to really closely monitor how effective they are. And that doesn't just mean the click-through rate to the website, right? It means then what happens? Are they the right types of visitors? Is your website in sync with your ads so that people, continue on their process of what they're looking for? And again, I mean, I see so many companies just pouring money into ads that aren't that effective.
Well, and also, do you think that there is a beginning phase, test, look, but then at some point, do you need to let it run for a bit and come back and continuously review?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you're testing, you have to have a significant result. I mean, you can't sort of have 3 visitors and go, okay, I have a result. But I do think that obviously, hopefully, I mean, improvement should be an ongoing thing.
Yeah. There's just so many changes. Friends of mine that study blockchain and not cryptocurrency, just for those people, I'm not talking about that, but all of these innovations, they move so fast. And so you're constantly reviewing analytics and that can adjust your budget accordingly. But like you said, you might just be spending all this money. And if you're not paying attention to it, that could be a big money pit.
And the thing that I've never understood, but there are some very mysterious things that happen out there. I mean, it's amazing how a website can be humming along fine and some sort of gremlin creeps in and all of a sudden you've got a broken link or something's changed and nobody knew, so again, that's another reason just to keep an eye on things.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, because I noticed sometimes there could be something broken. You get the 404 or whatever it is.
Right.
What is that? So it's like updating your website. It's like fresh paint in the office, but it's virtual now. Just got to keep on top of things. So thanks for helping us innovate today and staying with the times the best we can, but we can't do it alone. So let's talk about where people can find you.
I'm around on LinkedIn, so I always welcome comments and questions on LinkedIn. And my website is websitesthatwin.com. I'm sure you'll link to all of this. And I would be very happy to chat. I do offer a free 30-minute kind of introductory, hey, should we talk session? Yeah, welcome to come along and do that.
Perfect.
And Amber, I feel like I'd like to turn it around on you and say, what was... Yes.
Oh, no.
So what's your big takeaway from what we've been talking about?
Do you want to know what I'm going to do real soon because of you?
Oh.
I'm going to have to be vulnerable and tell people what I wasn't doing yet. The search engine. I literally have a team working on some things and that's what I need to do is add that in.
Excellent. And then you might get some brand new show ideas.
That was easy. I thought it was going to be harder. And that was
great.
One of the few. So I really appreciate you being here with us and teaching us and giving us some takeaways. I love it. And then we'll be looking at the stories in the 5 steps to find the hidden gems. So I can't wait.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pathways. For more information about the podcast, books, articles, the blog, and so much more, please visit my website at amberstitt.com. And remember, let's take action today. Thank you for listening.